obscure wizards of the realms. You all ready for this?
I am.
Welcome to another Lore You Should Know. My name is Greg Tito, and I'm joined by Mr. Chris Perkins.
Hi, Greg Tito.
We are here to talk about little bits of Dungeons & Dragons lore, and this one is a very little bit obscure wizards of the realms.
Yes.
There are many of them. Our player characters embody some of them, but there are others in lore
So many
that are very interesting. I
thought I'd just sort of pick on two. And this needn't be a long topic, but you never know. Sometimes the short ones end up ballooning.
It's very true.
Yeah. But so I should mention that the Realms has more than its fair share of wizards. And that's due in large part to Ed Greenwood.
Just loving wizards.
Just loving wizards.
Yeah.
But part of it stems from the fact that back in first and second edition, there was kind of, after the Player's Handbook and Unearthed Arcana release, there was kind of an explosion of spell design. And in order to bring the world of the Forgotten Realms to life, one of the ways that Ed did that was he created all of these new spells that sort of existed in his world. And the wizards who created them, in many cases, if they were arcane wizard spells,
Right.
And it was also the fashion to put the wizard's name in the spell.
Right.
Like Tensor's Floating Disc or Melf's Acid Arrow, Mordenkainen's Mansion, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
It sort of started there, but then Ed took that and just ran all across Faerun with it.
Nice.
Coming up with a host of new wizards and their signature spells, basically. And he also took the time to create entire spell books. Like he'd give a named spell book, and then he'd tell you all the spells that were in the book, who wrote the book, where the book is, where you can find it, that kind of thing. Got it. So he did this over a series of Dragon Magazine articles called Pages from the Mages. That was then later, I think in second edition, translated into a book of the same name,
Pages
which
of the
consolidated a lot of those old Dragon Magazine articles and updated them.
Very cool.
So Pages from the Mages was a very popular Dragon Magazine series because it dealt with new spells, and players are always looking for new stuff for their players, for their characters to play around with.
Yeah.
And so, but that put the onus on Ed to come up with all of these wizards and their names. And coming up with wizards and coming up with names are two of Ed Greenwood's superpowers. And a couple that spring to mind right away are Aganazar.
Aganazar.
Known for one spell and one spell only called Aganazar's Scorcher, which has survived and been translated, I think, into every edition of the game now.
As that title of the spell?
That's the title of the spell, Aganazar's Scorcher. And it's typically a second level spell that sends out a quick blast of flame that can engulf a number of creatures in its path. It's like a more concentrated, focused burning hands.
Got it.
And it's sort of like a whoosh, and it's done.
Right. Can deal a lot of damage,
yes.
but on short.
Yes. And what's amazing to me is that this fairly straightforward evocation spell, fire blasts out of your hands, has kind of been popular enough to have been resurrected over and over and over and over again. And I got to think that's because the name is cool.
Yeah.
People just seem to like the name Aganazar. Aganazar's Scorcher sounds just awesome.
Yeah, it's got the right amount of
syllables,
like consonants,
and the Z's and all that kind of thing. All together, it just sounds like a ferocious, cool spell.
Or it could be a drink too, like a fireball in there. It'd be very good.
Precisely. So that begs the question: well, who is this Aganazar guy?
Yeah.
Well, in the entire history of the realms, as far as I can tell, looking at every source that I have available to me, we know only one thing about this luminous wizard who created this awesome spell.
Was Aganazar.
that his name is spelled Aganazar. He created this spell, and apparently he lived for a time in Neverwinter and got killed.
Okay.
By, they say, Red Wizards of Thay.
Got it.
That's it.
That's it.
He
lived in Neverwinter.
He lived in Neverwinter and died there at the hands possibly of some other evil wizards.
Well, was he an evil wizard himself?
Unclear.
Got it.
He was part of a group of, he was part of a group called, I think, the Covenant, which included 3 other wizards, one of whom I think is Presper, who's known for a spell called Presper's Moonbow. I think that's the only spell that carries his name that has sort of survived the test of time. But yeah, so the spell has basically transcended the wizard.
Right.
We know almost nothing about this guy, nor likely are we ever to. So he is sort of a blank slate lore-wise. And as I was going through, it started with Aganazar, but as I was going through and researching these wizards, I found that it was sort of like a template, that most of these wizards are completely unknown in terms of their details. Now, it's possible somewhere in Ed's barn or basement,
there's notes.
He's got the notes, the treatise on who Aganazar was, and you know who his family was, and how he lived in Neverwinter, and the things he did in his spare time. That is probably all lodged.
There's a portrait commission for each one of these wizards.
Yes.
Yeah,
but we have never taken the time or had the interest, for whatever reason, to really delve into who this guy is, and so he's a complete cipher. And so another wizard that I looked into after Aganazar to see if he followed this template, and he does. And his name is Snilloc.
Snilloc.
Snilloc. And
what's his spell?
His trademark spell is Snilloc's Snowball.
Oh, I'm getting a trend here.
Yes. And so, and the spell is very low level. And it literally is, you conjure a snowball and can throw it.
It's the most Canadian spell ever.
Definitely a Canadian spell. And there is a higher level version of this spell, however. Snilloc actually surpassed Aganazar in having, I think, two spells with his name stamped on it. The other one is Snilloc's Snowball Swarm.
Oh.
Which is like...
Yeah, right?
Exactly what you think it is.
Like you were piling up a whole bunch of snowballs and we're throwing them all at once.
Yes. I'm sure this spell came out of a cold Canadian winter.
Yes.
So looking into Snilloc's past, we only know one thing about him. He went to Zakara.
Oh. That's it. He didn't return? Maybe dead.
Nope.
Maybe alive.
Yep.
Maybe he's a lich.
Like, okay, the wizard who perfected snowballs went to the desert. Yeah.
That's why
I guess he was probably very popular there.
I mean, you got water, right? You got a source of water. You don't need a cleric
I'm
around with you.
I'm sure the novelty must have been great. Like,
yeah.
Ooh.
You've never seen a snowball before, have you?
Snowball.
Right?
Yeah. So, yeah, apparently he went to Zakara, and that is literally the end of his story.
Wow. Well,
a wizard made a spell that made a snowball. And then he went to the desert.
What I like about all of these obscure wizards, though, is that by us highlighting them here, perhaps their stories will continue.
Yes.
Right?
Or begin. Or
yes.
Or happen. And so these are but two examples of what is a plethora of fabulously named wizards, of whom we know absolutely nothing except for the legacy that they left behind in the spells that are named after them. And I think that it is part of the D&D experience, if you ever play a wizard in D&D, that at some point in your wizard's lifespan, you're going to want to create a spell and name it after yourself.
Right.
I think that's just part of what playing a wizard in D&D is all about.
If there's a legacy there. Like
I do remember when I was young, playing earlier editions, that I did have a wizard at one point and did create my own spells and name them after myself, and they were probably all terrible. But I think it's like a rite of passage.
Right. It is the only way to kind of make a mark upon both your home game, but also the game as a whole.
Yes. But if anybody is interested in knowing or discovering some of these other obscure wizards, I would suggest you dig around for the second edition Pages from the Mages book, or get it online, probably on DM's Guild. It's there with all the other FR stuff.
RPG classics.
And you can read up on these spells, many of which have not yet been translated to 5th or probably not even 4th or 3rd. But yeah, if you're interested in knowing who Nechaser was, or Nihilou, or
Nechaser.
Nchaser. Nechaser.
Yeah.
What
are you going to do? I'm going to chase her.
I'm going to chase her. But they've all got fancy spells, and you will never know, any more about the wizards than that.
But if you wanted a catalog of NPC wizards to draw upon,
Yes.
you'd
And you can pretty much, chart your own course with these guys because so little is known about them that whatever you want to use, however you want to use them in your campaign, works.
Or exactly.
You're not going to overwrite some carefully curated, guarded canon with these guys because we don't know much about them at all.
And it doesn't have to be, as whole cloth. You could even just you find a spell.
Yeah.
Rather than a spell that you might know, like a fireball or something like that. Here's one of these obscure spells, and then all of a sudden your players will be asking questions.
And the fascinating thing is that this is really a phenomenon unique to the Forgotten Realms.
Right.
Our other published campaign settings don't have this plethora of blank spell names because
it was a Greyhawk thing, wasn't it?
Well, it started in Greyhawk with the Mordenkainens and the Tensors and the Autoluks and the Raries and the Big Bees and the blah 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 blah. But then
Ed ran with it.
Ed totally ran with it, and I think that was just by virtue of the fact that he had a regular column in Dragon Magazine, and
got to fill it with something.
And wrote so many of these spells, hundreds of spells, and some of them are just wild and worth checking out. So have at it.
If you're always wondering about creativity in spell making, they may not all be balanced or perfect, but they might spark an idea or two.
Yes, they will.
That's cool. Awesome. All right. Well, if people want to throw spells at you, how would they do so? I
am on Twitter at Chris Perkins DND.
Awesome. And of course, you can ask Ed on Twitter. Is the Edverse?
The Edverse.
He might be able to spark a few creative.
He might know what happened to Snillock after he went to Zakara, assuming he even knows that Snillock went to Zakara. The funny thing about our worlds is sometimes the creators, they create and then these things take on a life of their own. And other people write things about these characters.
Yeah.
In a Bob Salvatore novel, Bob refers to Aganazar as basically an incompetent trickster.
Oh.
It's like a one-line throwaway.
Well, that's another detail.
Yeah.
You said there was only one detail. That's two. There's two.
Yeah, but it's
heresy. Right?
No, it's not heresy. It's kind of like third-person reporting. It's done from a character's point of view in dialogue, so it's not necessarily canonical. It's one character's interpretation of this individual.
I like that, though.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool. And that's one of the best parts about working within a shared storytelling universe, right? Is that different people can react to it a different way.
Yeah. Somebody will like a name of a character, and suddenly that character will be much more important than the creator ever intended.
Exactly. All right. Aganazar, that incompetent bastard.
That trickster.
We're now done with you and this Lore You Should Know segment. So thank you, guys. We'll be back next week. All right. Good stuff.
Yeah.
Can I talk to the chat for a little bit? Just real quick.
Do you need me?
No, you're good. Thanks, everybody. I don't have you up in front of me, so I can't respond to you, but thanks for watching these 4 amazing Lore You Should Know segments. We will be back recording with Shelly next Monday, 2 p.m. Pacific time. I don't have any previews for who that interview is going to be, but it is going to be amazing. Very good stuff. We are going to cut out here. Like I said, Dice Friends with Loading Ready Run will be beginning at 4:30 here on this channel. And then we have Dice and Dark and Dicey at 7 p.m. Pacific time tonight. So can't wait for all that. You guys are amazing. Thank you so much to everyone who's subscribed. Please go continue to do so if you would like. You can get all kinds of fun emoticons. That's not what they're called. They're called emotes here on Twitch. They are ever-changing, so please let us know if you want some more different characters added to those emotes, and we will get them going for you. But that's only $5 a month, and you get lots of other cool, fun stuff like that. All right. You guys are the best. Thank you so much. I will be back with you at 3:30 tomorrow. But in the meantime, enjoy this music that will play right about now.